And welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete. Sitting here with Jim Lamb and Pat Bourne from Sarah Incorporated. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Good.
Glad to be here.
How are you guys tonight?
We're great.
Good.
Yep.
So, Pat, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Pat Bourne? And I understand she's Executive Director of Sarah Incorporated.
I am. I'm
right.
Executive Director of Sarah Incorporated. I've been at Sarah Incorporated for 9 years now. Just celebrated my 9th anniversary. And I am excited and proud to be part of such a great organization and to help drive all the work that we do at Sarah. It's been a lot of fun. I have a lot of experience working in the field of disabilities, and it's been a great opportunity for me to be able to just share my talents with an incredible team at Sarah Inc.
Now, Jim, what do you do for Sarah?
My title is Manager of Business Development, but sometimes I call myself a headhunter for people who have intellectual disabilities.
All right.
I work with businesses all up and down, well, everywhere in our service area, to really start a dialogue about how people with intellectual disabilities can be of value to their organization.
Sure.
We have about 120 people working today along the shoreline and over in the Hamden-Wallingford area, earning a paycheck, real work for real pay. And I try to find those opportunities.
Okay. Now, as far as, for those of our viewers and listeners that don't know, what is Sarah?
Sarah Inc. is one of the family of agencies that has been providing services to people with differing abilities since 1957.
Okay.
You know, it's really hard for us to think about what services were like. In fact, there were no services for people over 50 years ago.
Right.
So a group of families got together who had children with differing needs, special needs, and they said there's got to be a better way. So think about, there was no mandated education.
Right.
People weren't allowed to go to school. There really were no opportunities. So they banded together. They each collected $2, mainly to send out a mailing to other families and said, are there other people who have the same needs? And they came together, started a school run by volunteers in the basement of a church. As their children got older, they started to think about what kind of work opportunities they would need and could benefit from. So actually, Sarah started the first restaurant training program in the country. A lot of people in the Guilford area or along the shoreline will remember the Apple Doll House. It was a tea house, a restaurant, where people learned restaurant skills.
All right.
And then over time, we recognized that it was important for us to start businesses, but also to find our business partners who could help to find, create jobs and employ people with disabilities. And then eventually, as those young adults got older, those same families said they need to have a place to live. And so they started looking at supervised apartments and group homes and other options to help people be independent and enhance their skills and enrich their lives. So today, over almost 60 years now, Sarah is serving over 600 children and adults.
Wow.
From starting with birth to 3. We have a very large birth to 3 program, early intervention program, through maturity. So literally we start services at birth. So if a family has concerns about a child, an infant or a child, we can go in and help assess that, the child, and be able to provide a team of people to help that child right through maturity. The oldest person we serve is 92. Wow. And we serve people throughout the greater New Haven area, across the shoreline, and actually well up into the Norwich area, Norwich, New London area in our birth to 3 services. Wow, so you can see what a big difference from just 3 people and a handful of children to the organization it's become today.
Very nice. Jim, you have something you'd like to add?
I pretty well summarized it. It's just amazing. Where I'll go to a networking meeting now, and there are 3 agencies like us, so it just shows the need for our services. And in my role, it's just I feel very proud to be able to go out and represent what we do in the organization I'm with. 2 people in the community. We have a wonderful reputation, so it's been a very gratifying experience for me and my. Some people call it my retirement days, but I'm very fully engaged, and I don't consider it retirement.
Definitely not. Now let's talk a little bit about the impact in the Westbrook community?
You know, we have a very strong ties to the Westbrook community, and actually directly and indirectly. I think it would be important to note that actually one of the founding members of SARA, there were 3 founding families, and one was the Reinhardtson family. And today, actually, Neil Bishop, who's the first selectman in Westbrook, and his wife is a Reinhardtson, and it was her mother and father who were one of the founding members. So actually the connection with Sarah really goes back right to the very first day. But we have been, when we moved to the Westbrook community approximately 4 or 5 years ago in terms of developing a program here in the lower Middlesex County, we were welcomed. The community has been incredibly welcoming, not only in terms of, you know, our building, but employers, community partners in terms of employing people with disabilities, the people that we support, volunteers, and just the community at large with our recycling program, which I'm sure we'll talk about, has been very welcoming and very receptive. And so we've actually just moved our administrative offices as of June 1st to our Westbrook facility here on the Post Road, which is right across the street from here. So right across from Water's Edge. So if anybody is driving by on the Post Road and is across from Water's Edge, you see our Sarah building. You know, we welcome, you know, we invite you to come in and say hello. We're in construction mode right now as we're improving our accessibility there. And we will definitely have a big open house once that is all done. But we're very pleased and proud to be now even a stronger member of the Westbrook community.
Now, as far as the building where you guys are across the street from where we're taping the show tonight, are your programs run out of that building, or what is it? Is it administrative?
No, the main use of that building is a program site for the people who are in the Westbrook area. That's actually one of 4 program sites that we have. They're all buildings. They serve as a hub for people either going to work or if people can't work. We have various activities that they can participate in during the day. Our largest program site is in Brantford. We have one in Madison, and as of I think 2 years ago, we opened one up in North Haven, so we could expand our services more into that area. I want to go back just to the impact in this area as it relates to employment, which is a major part of the services that we offer.
Absolutely.
A lot of people come to us for services, and they can work and want to work, so we have an obligation to do everything we can to find them jobs. In this area alone, and I know your viewing area certainly is very broad here, but we've had crews working at prestigious organizations like Wayland Engineering. We just started a crew at the new Big Y, just up the street in Old Saybrook. PCI Medical, we have a crew. We were at Honora before I think they relocated. Excuse me. We're at the VNA. I could go on and on and on. We do cleaning. A lot of the work that we do, Pete, is the structured, repetitive type of work that's critical in almost every organization, but it's the type of work that typical people don't particularly enjoy doing because it's routine. And people who have differing abilities that we serve thrive on that structure. They love it. They come to work with smiles on their faces. They can't wait to get there. And believe it or not, they show up on time. They do what they're supposed to do.
Imagine that.
I talk to groups sometimes. I say, "What a, excuse me, what a novel concept."
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Exactly. Now, I know we're probably going to talk about this in the second segment, but let's talk. We got some little bit more time in the first segment here. Let's talk about recycling.
Well, you know, sort of following in the footsteps of our founders, several years ago, when when you think about how the economy had changed considerably a few years ago, and it was difficult to find jobs in with our community partners, and we thought about what is a good opportunity for people that they might be able to do and earn a paycheck. So we came up with the idea of getting the community to donate returnable bottles and cans, all the soda and water bottles that have the 5-cent deposit on it, donate those to Sarah, And then we would collect those, and the people that we support would go and then take those and process those, do all the collection, process them, and keep the nickel. Basically, whatever of the proceeds from that would be returned to those folks in terms of paychecks. And we started when, you take an idea like that and you say, well, we started with, people literally just giving us a few bottles and cans or a little plastic bag.
Right.
And from that,
Yes.
We have expanded recycling to the point that in this year alone, in this year, the fiscal year ending June 30th,
Yeah.
we are estimating, we are projecting that we will have processed just from the donated bottles and cans,
Yeah.
1 million bottles and cans this year.
Oh my God.
So think about the impact that has for the community, the environment at large.
Exactly.
And when you talk about the support of the local community, I have to say the Westbrook community was one of the first communities that said, not only are we interested in what you're doing, we want to help you do this. And the town of Westbrook was incredible.
Bill was great.
Yes, as all the local shoreline communities. The town of Westbrook and the first selectman, Neil Bishop, he embraced this immediately and said, you guys are going to be doing us a favor by taking these out of the landfill. From that, we have now, the natural extension of Sarah Recycles was we needed a place to process those bottles and cans.
Okay.
And the local place that we were going to in East Haven closed, and that left us in a terrible bind.
Uh-oh.
So we said, well, the natural extension of that is we need to reopen that Redemption Center.
Okay.
So just a year ago in June, we opened the Sarah Redemption Center. And Jim could talk a little bit about what that means in terms of Sarah Recycles.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, it's an exciting venture for us because I started a dialogue with a business owner, and we saw how it fit into our mission perfectly. We'd been entertaining the idea of some type of retail front over the years, and it always seemed like a forced fit. This was perfect. And we began to do all the due diligence that we needed to. We opened our doors almost a year ago to the day.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about this after the break if you want. But it's an incredible location. We have 34 reverse recycling machines there. These are the type that you may see in a Big Y or Stop and Shop where you have 3 or 4.
Okay.
And it's a very active place, and it's flourishing, and it's getting our name out there, and it's consistent with our mission and
Well, we'll talk about
everything.
that after the break.
Okay.
All right.
Would you
Glad
guys
to.
mind sticking around for another segment?
We'd love to.
We'll be right back.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm sitting here with Pat Bourne and Jim Lamb from Sarah Incorporated. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Hey, Jim, you and I we were talking about before the commercial break about the recycling centers and the recycling bins. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, I think it's important for your viewers to understand exactly what we're trying to promote here. Essentially, it's a lot of people recycle. They put their, the recycling materials on the curb, and some of it is refundable cans of bottles, some of it's not, and that's great because they're recycled. But if we can just get the public to take those refundable cans and bottles and bring them to one of our locations, which in this area would be, there's a yellow bin, you can't miss it. It's near the Little League field by Citizens Bank off the Westbrook Green.
Sure.
There's another one in the parking lot of the Log Cabin Restaurant in Clinton.
Sure.
And there are smaller bins all over in fitness centers and offices and places like that. There's also, if you go on down to Madison Friends and Company, the Surf Club, places like that. If a lot of times we'll get a call that somebody's been accumulating these bags over time, and it's very hard for them to get rid of them. If they can give us a call at Sarah, I'll give my extension right now, or my cell phone, 203-641-5638. I can help arrange for a pickup, actually, at their home.
Okay.
So those are the ones in the local area. It's also important to know that I think just as of 2 weeks ago, we've been working with the First Selectman in Old Saybrook, and Sarah has now started recycling all the refundables in the transfer station for Old Saybrook. So they have a single stream recycling process, so cans and bottles are in one area. And we now, those are now being donated to Sarah. So they're out there on a weekly basis. It's big volume. It's a very important step for us. So that provides a service to the town of Old Saybrook because it's helping to streamline their processes. So we're helping to solve a business need and at the same time grow our recycling volume.
Exactly. And we're obviously the recycling volume's pretty much going very well.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Right.
You know, one of the things that, I think we were talking with you just recently. Of course, you know, for redeeming bottles and cans, we want people to, when they have a water bottle or, you know, a 5-cent returnable bottle,
Right.
whatever they're drinking, you know, we make no judgment. But, you know, a 5-cent returnable bottle, we want people to see the value in that bottle that's other than the 5 cents.
5 cents, right.
And the value of that is, one, keeping it out of the landfill, but more importantly, it's going for a good cause. It's putting people to work, it's giving people a paycheck, it's supporting all of Sarah's services. So it's really a win-win. So every time someone thinks about they're either going to put it in their single stream recycling at the bin, you know, at the curbside, or maybe even just throwing it away. We want everybody to stop and think about what that nickel can do. Exactly. And they have the potential of expanding the value of that nickel exponentially.
Now, as far
just to leave with one point.
Go ahead.
We're all watching the unemployment rate, you know, in Connecticut. And
Absolutely.
It's going down, certainly. Unfortunately, it's not going down in this population of individuals with differing abilities. The unemployment rate is around 65 to 70%. So just to reinforce the point Pat was making, when you look at that water bottle, you're creating jobs, but you're creating jobs in an area where it's desperately needed.
Exactly. I was going to ask, as far as the recycling bins, how often are they emptied?
Really, there's a schedule. I mean, in some cases, we'll have a will call if it's something that's more spread out. But the majority of these bins, especially the big bins, are once or twice a week if needed. Because the last thing we want is for stuff to be hanging around outside the bins. And occasionally, people sometimes will drop off stuff that's not what we're looking for. So we need to keep those areas policed. And in terms of the gyms and so forth, usually once or twice a week. We gauge the needs, so it's you know, logistically makes sense, and we can be efficient. And
again, once they pick up from the bins, they directly go to the recycling center.
Right.
Correct.
They sort out what's not you know, appropriate.
Right.
And then they go to the Sarah Redemption Center on Foxen Road, and that's all processed into little whatever it's crushed up into, and put in big bins on a trailer truck and sent out to make furniture.
Right. Come back as another bottle.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I think another service that we could provide at the Redemption Center, the Sarah Redemption Center, which is open to the public. It's not. It's you know, it's Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, open to the public, obviously. But it's also weekend if someone has a major fundraiser or, you know, as part of a club that might generate a lot of beverages.
Right.
We can also arrange, talk with that person about, or that organization in terms of arranging how we can help them, like with a fundraiser. So if you're doing a fundraiser for your school and you're doing your own major bottle and can donation fundraiser, but you don't want to stand there and put
Throw
all
them in the
the
machine.
and throw in the machine. It's not worth your time.
No.
We can talk with you about how we might be able to help you with that and still benefit Sarah and what we're doing. So so it's not exclusive. We want to be sure that people understand that yes, we want the donations. If you go to the Redemption Center, you get the nickel back. If you've got a large volume and you want us to help you process that, we can work out a way for us to do that as well. So, when you talk about the win-win, it's, you can't be bothered, you donate. If you want the nickel back, you take it to the Redemption Center. If you want to work out something in between, we can figure out a way to do that.
Exactly.
And the other convenient thing about the Redemption Center is we hear sometimes people go to the local grocery stores and there's a line or something. As I mentioned, we have 34 of these machines. But they process, you get a receipt out and you get cash on the spot immediately. So it's very convenient.
I was going to say, Pat brought up a very valid point a couple seconds ago. As far as fundraisers go, what other fundraisers does Sarah Inc. do throughout the year? Do they have major fundraisers?
Yeah.
We have a Sarah Foundation, which is another agency under the umbrella of Sarah that helps supplement our funds through various fundraisers.
All right.
The largest is the Sarah Gala, which just took place, I think the most successful we've ever had.
All right.
It's a wonderful event, and we'll make sure we get the information to you for next year to publicize it. It's a great event at Woodwinds. But coming up, and it seems like closer than we think, is our Sarah Golf Classic at Clinton Country Club. It's the first Monday in August. I don't have that date off the top of my head, but we still have room. We are filling up with golfers.
Okay.
Sponsors are always welcomed. It's a wonderful event, and we would certainly welcome anybody to give me a call, and I can certainly put them in contact with the right information.
I was going to say, and the golf tournament is pretty well attended every year.
We usually pretty well max out.
Right.
And
I'm sorry, Pete, but I was just going to say I think I thank you for mentioning the issues of fundraisers, but like every nonprofit and every nonprofit human service agency, we get a certain amount of funding from the state, but that funding only covers basic services, and certainly anybody who's paying attention to what's happening in Hartford or at the federal level, that funding is always under threat. It's human services has been underfunded for years, and there are always threats to cuts to funding. So it's very important that the whole concept of fundraising, we rely on donations and grants and all those things to help us be able to supplement the services that we're providing. And so a lot of the enhancements and a lot of the enrichment activities that we talk about are really because of generous donations. And we can't rely on state funding alone because it is really not enough and always seriously jeopardized. So we appreciate the opportunity to talk about services because of that.
Not a problem. And according to my research, that the event this year is the 3rd of August.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to add one more thing. I know we're probably getting fairly close on time, but
we're good.
I just want to talk a little bit about the supported employment program because a lot of the process that I go through is helping a business owner sort of change their way of thinking, because the types of jobs that we're looking at are sometimes not on an organizational chart. And so when we go in with a supported employment role, we take the role of like any other subcontractor. We'll come in, we'll look at the work to be done. If we can do it, we'll make sure we have the crew. We'll provide a proposal that includes the cost. And if it's agreed to, then we just invoice. Sarah invoices the business on a monthly basis. They pay us, and we're responsible for all the details in terms of paying our clients. We provide workman's compensation insurance for the business. We take care of taxes. So it's really a hassle-free way to do it. You're not putting somebody on the payroll necessarily.
Nope.
Sometimes business owners are a little reluctant, although well-intended, but they just don't know what it's like to have someone with an intellectual disability on property. We have a job coach that's there the entire time. They provide transportation. They do all that. So there's no worries whatsoever. And the side benefit of working with our organization is after a short period of time, if I go in to see how things are going, you'll almost see watery eyes talking about how thrilled they are to have these people on site and how inspirational they are, and first of all, what a good job they do.
Yes, they're valued employees, and I think that is the most important thing, that we won't go into a business unless we're sure that we can do a good job, and Sarah workers are committed to doing a good job. And for your audience, Sarah is a full-service organization,
Okay.
so of the almost, as I said, 600 people we support, about 400 are children, 200 plus adults, and an equal number who are employed or interested in getting employed. And for those people who can't be employed, employment is not a primary goal for them, or by the nature of their circumstances, their disability, are not able to work. The facility like the one we have at Westbrook is available for enrichment services during the course of the day. So we do a lot of volunteer work. We deliver Meals on Wheels. We're part of the community garden program. We do a lot of community activities so that regardless of people's abilities, that they can play a productive role in their community.
Now, as far as before you guys moved to Westbrook, you guys were, I'm assuming, in Guilford?
Our offices were in Guilford, yes, and as we said before, we're also in other communities across the shoreline in the greater New Haven area.
And you guys love being in the town of Westbrook.
Oh, definitely. As I said, Westbrook is sort of our second home. We've been here in Westbrook actually about 4 years now, and we're really, really pleased to be able to renovate our building, make it more accessible, both in terms of accommodations and well as maximizing our space and moving our headquarters here. So we're excited about that.
Well, we're about to say goodnight. Before we do, I just want to thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you, Pete.
Hopefully,
Thank you, Pete, for the
hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
We'd love to.
Our website, you have our website?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all set.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. On behalf of Pat and Jim, I'm Pete. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.